But tonight our telephone system is up and working, and everything is all set to go. So let's welcome Louise and her special guest. Welcome, Louise.
Hi, Tony, and welcome, listeners. I'm Louise Ongrill, and tonight I have a very special guest. She is here in Phoenix and works generally out of Phoenix, but does quite a bit of traveling. And her name is Jane Fendelman MC, which is Master in Counseling, or Master of Counseling. She does a tremendous amount of work spiritually and on a personal empowerment level. It is very transforming. It is where people find inspiration in a way that facilitates a loving and connected way to your inner self, your inner truth. And what a better time than now to find how we connect to our inner truth. She is someone who continues to research the area of abundance, and that's primarily what we're going to talk about tonight. And if you have any questions on attaining abundance, not financial advice now. She's not a stockbroker. She's not a banker. But she will facilitate how you can bring in the power and find it within yourself and be amazed at what you can manifest. Right now, everyone feels a little bit helpless. You turn on the radio, and what you hear about Clinton, and you hear about the controls on this controversy. It seems to be one-sided, and we did talk about polls last time, and the polls indicate this, and the polls indicate that. Where's the truth in things today? Where's the truth? And, of course, we have to look towards our inner self to find them. And Jane is very equipped. She's also the author of Raising Humane Beings, which is a parenting book. And if that wasn't enough, she authored Dreams into Reality, which is a guidebook. And, of course, you can call her and schedule a private meeting if you like. But tonight, take advantage of it. For 1 hour, we have Jane here tonight. And I'd like to introduce her now. Jane.
Yes.
How are you tonight?
I'm wonderful. It's so great to be here, Louise. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome.
So actually, I'd like to start with the questions to your listeners that they can ask themselves. And this is how I usually start my abundance seminar, too. And it's a really strange question, and here it is. I always ask, who here is wearing brand new underwear? Now, don't you wonder why I would ask them that?
Yes, and I'm sure they're asking themselves the same question.
Why do you think I would ask that, Louise?
Is it important?
It is important. It is.
It's very important to know if you're wearing clean underwear.
No, not clean. Well, clean, yes, but new underwear.
Oh,
and instead of making you guess, I'll just give it away.
Well, thanks.
It's a self-care, self-loving thing to do. It's something that you do for you. If it's not brand new underwear, at least it's really great, because you know how sometimes people skimp on themselves? They sort of consider themselves last. They
yes.
Serve themselves last. And our underwear is sort of a telltale sign. I'm the only one who sees it. No one's going to know. It's okay if it's a little bit ragtag. No, it's not okay. You deserve the best. You deserve good. You deserve new. If you're using plastic plates or paper plates or plastic glasses, get rid of those things. Use the good china. Use the good china every day. Quit saving it for special. This is special because you're alive, and that's a miracle.
Treat yourself as a guest.
Amen.
Well, in finding answers within problems, you have a wonderful creative way of putting that. You say, find answers within the problem as a diamond within the goal.
Exactly.
That's beautiful. Could you explain that?
Yes. You find out, you find your diamond. Everybody gets their lumps of coal. Each life, each person for their lives, they get their lumps of coal, their problems. And under the weight and tons of pressure from life, those lumps of coal can become their diamonds. And I always tell people, I can tell you exactly what you are master of. You could be deep in your problems, and I could tell you exactly what you'll be master of. It is the flip side of that problem. So let's take an abundance question, for example. Say you're working at a job where you're feeling sort of smothered and like your creativity is not honored, and you're doing all this computer work, but you know that you have the artistic ability to be one of the key people at this company, however, you're not being recognized. And you can hear yourself complaining about how you know that you have this creativity, and yet you're trapped in this job. Well, the answer's right there. You deserve a job where you can bring your creative juices forth. And one of the most important things in you getting your abundance flowing is for you to have your needs met. And you know how people, especially in a significant other relationship, in a romantic relationship, when our needs start to emerge, we feel embarrassed by them. A lot of times we'll try to suppress our needs.
Sure.
Well, you have to have your needs met. You can't be embarrassed by them or suppress them or tell yourself, I don't deserve to have that, or that's frivolous. Absolutely. If it's what's going to make you happy, you need to be doing it. So if you're doing a job that feels like work and not play, that's not work. That's not your true calling. That's not your true work. When you're doing your true calling, your work feels like play.
It feels creative.
Absolutely.
It just flows.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And when people say, I'm in the flow, or he was in the flow, my personal perception is that flow is when you're in line with divine will. And let me just put this a little, not disclaimer, but just this informational tidbit about me. I always say that nothing I say is true. Nothing is true until it's true for you. Check out everything you hear. Try it on. See if it fits for you. If it doesn't fit, file it away. Maybe it'll fit later. But anything that I deliver to you today, I either learned or read or heard from someone else, or I made it up.
And is that perfectly okay?
Absolutely. That's how everybody lives. We don't deliver anything original. We learned, heard everything, most of what we know and say and do from someone else, and yeah, that's perfectly okay. And sometimes we get an original thought, but my personal belief is that's from the above. That's the divine. So when we're in the flow and everything's just rolling right along, I believe that means that we're in line with God's will or divine will or Allah or Buddha, whatever you want to call it.
So we find inspiration in what others do.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. It's great to look for people that inspire you. In fact, one of the key points to you getting a life of abundance is get the anchor people out of your life and get the helium balloon people into your life. And the anchor people are those people that when you tell them, I got this great idea for a new business, they say, oh yeah, my brother's cousin's nephew's uncle tried that out and failed. That's an anchor person. That's a person who, when you're treading water, they hand you an anchor. The helium balloon people are those people that cheer you on. They believe in you. They say, Louise, if anybody can do it, I know you can. You're going to be great at this. And you want to get those people into your life. And also, you want to check and see if you yourself are being a helium balloon person or an anchor person to other people in your life. Because one of the greatest ways to get rich is to help other people be successful.
That's inspiring. But how do you find them, and how do you get them to stay with you?
The helium balloon.
The helium balloons.
Well, that's an excellent question, because that's another way for you to get more abundance in your life. You have to learn good and healthy boundaries. You have to learn to say no. And usually we don't want to say no because we feel guilty. But I tell people all the time, the guilt is the magic carpet that takes you to a higher level. See, we usually won't say no to the people that are taking from our lives instead of enhancing our lives. We don't want to say no because we feel guilty, because sometimes it's your mother, sometimes it's your spouse, sometimes it's somebody that you feel an obligation to. And so saying No, you know what? I love you. We're not saying that these people are bad and wrong. We're just saying that doesn't work. So you can just take bad and wrong out of your vocabulary and just use works doesn't work. So you would say to your mother, who always tells you that won't work, you say, you know what, Mom? I love you very much, and it won't work for me to have this conversation with you. And also you have to take care not to hand this precious little new idea over to somebody who's going to trounce on it. It's good to keep your good ideas and share them with the people that you recognize as a helium balloon person, a person that's going to be uplifting to you.
That's fantastic. So sometimes out of our own self-inflicted fear, programming, that we may actually hold ourselves back.
Oh, absolutely. It's our belief systems that are like magnets. My internal landscaping is merely a reflection in the external world. The external world is simply a manifestation of my internal landscaping. So if you notice yourself, you probably don't do this, Louise, and your listeners probably don't do this, but their neighbor might do this. If you find yourself obsessing about money and talking about how you don't have it and you need to get it, that is a belief system that keeps you on the hamster wheel of not getting it. And I can tell you some really easy ways to get, my goal, my aim in this next hour is to get your listeners to become very, very, very wealthy. Not just in money, but in money, yeah. In money, in love, in health, in every area. So,
please call in. You've got to learn how to do this.
Yes.
Every question is valuable. It may not be the one you call in on, but people listening will learn from the answer.
Right. There's no stupid questions. There's no such thing.
Never. And learn how to overcome fear just by calling us.
Right.
How do you work this? I mean, abundance. What does abundance mean? Does it mean, which do you take care of first? Do you take care of changing one's programming and thought pattern to attain abundance? How does that happen?
Yeah, that's a really good question, too. When I'm working with somebody one-on-one or when I'm giving one of my seminars, I work on all levels, body, mind, and spirit. So we talk about everything from, I recommend reading the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, which is a brilliant, amazing book, The Richest Man in Babylon.
Who wrote that?
George Clayson. It's a very old book, very short, very easy to read, very amazing. I also recommend the tapes that Susie Orman did on the 9 Steps to Financial Freedom. Very spiritual.
Oh, yes.
Very wonderful. But, yes, let's talk body, mind, and spirit. You do need to take steps. You do need to pay 10% out of every penny that comes to you. Pay 10% to yourself first. That is so key. I don't care how little it is. I don't care if you got $1 and what you're taking out is a dime to give to you. You always give to you first. And it's really great to tithe 10% to someone else. Now, if you're too scared to tithe your money right now, tithe your time. And tithing is service. That's work that you do pro bono. It's work that you do for free. And if you have a poverty of time belief system where you say, I barely have time to take care of me and my kids, you got to find a way. You might take your kids to go tithing with you.
Well, we have someone who just called in.
Wonderful.
And hold that thought, Jane. Yes, hello.
Hi.
Hi, who's this?
This is Byron.
Byron, how are you tonight?
Pretty good.
Do you have a question for Jane?
Yeah, I was working at this place, and the person who had hired me initially, she had fired me on Wednesday saying that I hadn't had enough experience to hold the job. But what I didn't understand is, if I wanted to gain experience, that's why I had this job, so that I could get the experience to have that kind of profession.
Well, let me put you on pause here for just a second. It's Byron?
Mm-hmm.
Byron, that is such a great thing that happened to you. Now, see if you can look at it like this. Let me give you this crazy notion. Are you a spiritual person?
Yeah.
Okay. God kicks our butt out of any place that we don't belong. And there is a better job for you elsewhere. And you know how we feel scared and terrified and horrible about being fired, and now I have to go look for a new job?
Mm-hmm.
We feel the same way when we get dumped by a boyfriend. Okay, Well, I want you to think of it like this instead. You just arrived at Tiffany's, and there are cases and cases and cases of gorgeous jewelry, emeralds, pearls, rubies, diamonds. And now that you are free, you have your pick. And somewhere in there is going to be the perfect jewelry for you. It's going to look gorgeous on you. It's going to be just the right weight. It's going to be just the right price for you. Can you kind of get into that little visualization?
Mm-hmm.
And have you ever been fired or lost a job or lost a beloved where you thought, well, this is it. There won't be another one that was that good, and it turned out that the very next one was even better?
No, I've never had that experience.
Okay, can you pretend like that might be true for you out there?
I hope so. See, the job that I had was, a job that I enjoyed very much, and the person that was training me for this job, they said that I was doing an excellent job, and then, all of a sudden, out of the blue, the person who had hired me initially and thought that I'd be great for the job said that I didn't have enough experience.
Yeah.
I think that's look at it as now you're on a treasure hunt for something better than that even,
Yeah.
You are capable of better than that even.
Right, Louise. And also, Byron, have you ever heard of Marianne Williamson, the woman who does the Course in Miracles?
Mm-mm.
She's really brilliant, and she has some books and tapes out. And I remember listening to one of her tapes. She says, if it's not your train, don't try and get on it, and you'll know if it's not your train because it won't stop at your station. And have you ever tried to get on a moving train? And I know that this actually feels like a train that you got on, but for some reason, Spirit needs you someplace else more.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, Spirit had you escorted out off that train. Because there's a better train coming that's going in a better direction for you. And if you can have faith and enjoy the journey, because it's really not the getting there. It's really not even getting the job or the money. It's the learning how to enjoy the process of the journey.
Right.
Can you buy that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you for your help. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Byron. And if you think of another question, do call in.
All right. Bye-bye.
Louise, that reminded me of something else that's really important.
What's that?
One of the things that I started a few years ago that really increased the joy and abundance in my life on all levels was starting a gratitude journal. And I watch Oprah a lot. She's one of my heroes.
Oh, yes.
So
Absolutely.
I started a gratitude journal. Is you just sit down at the end of each day, and even if it was a really rotten day, you write down 5 things that you're grateful for from that day. And sometimes I would have such hard days where I could barely think of one thing to write down. And so I would write down, I'm grateful to myself for brushing my teeth. But the more you do it, the more things you find to be grateful for. And
Absolutely.
when you walk through your day with a grateful, gracious, an attitude of gratitude, that brings much more abundance to you. And also it's a great abundance practice to choose 5 people that you mentor or cheer on. So you choose just 5 people that you want to foster, and you put the name of each of those 5 people, one on each month. So 1 month you have Sam's name at the top of your calendar. And every once in a while during that month, when you think of Sam, you just call him up and tell him, I believe in you, I think you're doing great, or you send him a card, or you ask him, can I take you to dinner? It's a way of fostering and mentoring other people to help them feel better about themselves.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful, Jane.
Wonderful.
I also want to say I have been fired myself from time to time, and
Yeah,
I didn't
me too.
think it was possible. Me? Moi? How could that be? I'm the all-loving, magnificent Louise, fired? It's their loss.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I saw it after a while.
Absolutely.
You have to bounce back and see it as a catalyst, I guess. That's the way I looked at it after a while.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
And sometimes we have such, we build such cocoons that if something rattles it and breaks it up, we're in terrible trepidation. I mean, how do we handle this earthquake? Well, it's not an earthquake. They just rattled it.
Right, and it's just the external world.
Exactly.
And if our inner peace is based on the external circumstances being just so, then we're in big trouble.
Absolutely.
Like, if I have to have a certain number in my bank account or certain numbers on my scale for me to feel okay about me, then I'm in trouble. So I want my love and feelings of prosperity to be generated from within. And as I generate those feelings within, the external world meets me and matches it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
It's really something that I guess if I keep these words in my mind and kind of reprogram, that it'll start working itself through my system.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? That reminds me, too, Louise. I was just watching Susie Orman last time she was on Oprah, and she was talking about her affirmations, and I thought, well, let me see. My life is really wonderful, and I want it to be even more extraordinary and also be very grateful for it right where it is. And I decided I'm going to make up a new affirmation because I would like to reach more people and help more people. And also I would like to open to greater abundance monetarily as well. And so I was thinking, okay, I'm going to make up an affirmation kind of like she had. So I started to say, I easily handle. Oh, first, I became aware of the notion, the false belief system, that I couldn't handle a whole lot of money. Because when I was a little girl, it was kind of like, we would get kind of laughed at.
Yes.
If we asked money questions when I was a little girl. It'd be like, don't worry about that. Yeah, that's not for you to worry about.
It's not your problem.
You're just a little girl. Don't worry. So I thought, I'm a girl. I don't have to worry about that. That's not true, though. So I became aware that I had a belief system that I couldn't handle a lot of money. So I started trying to make up this affirmation, and it started out like this. I easily handle and I wanted to say my millions of dollars. And then my belief system started getting triggered, like first, well, that's greedy, that's a lot. The other one was, well, you couldn't handle that, that's way more than you could handle. And I started seeing my belief systems. When you ask for a whole lot of money, your belief systems will speak up, your false belief systems. So I said, heck with this. I'm going with it. I made my first affirmation, I easily help millions of people. And I made my second affirmation, I easily handle my millions of dollars. And the more I say them, well, you know what happened, a couple of weeks later, KFYI Radio called up, and then just a week or two after that, you called me up, and now here I get to talk to a lot of people, and I get to meet people like you, which enhances my life.
Oh, absolutely, and we learn.
Due to that little affirmation.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that affirmation.
Isn't that great?
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
It is really a powerful tool that now I think more so we need all the master tools we can get, and you don't have to spend a nickel.
Absolutely, because you can buff up what you already have. People have a belief system that they have to go get new or better or
right,
more.
Right.
But you can just buff up what you already have. Just cleaning out your closets and having a yard sale is an abundance act.
Yes, it is. And what happens? You fill it up right away.
Right, right, with new stuff.
With new stuff, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
You also speak of chaos and fear and turning that into infinite wealth, kind of like what the emotion our last caller was feeling.
Yeah.
But the emotion and fear, and you can actually turn that into infinite wealth, Jane?
Absolutely. Chaos and fear is kind of like this great huge wave that can wash over you. And if you sort of give in to the fear, if you just do old behavior, which is usually to contract during the fear part, then you don't get to catch the waves. But if you feel some fear come up, and I can tell you, all things are connected. So if you have a fear, if you've noticed that you want to date and you haven't been asked on a date in a long time, and you have a fear of establishing eye contact with another human being and telling them you have a beautiful smile, that's poverty. That's connected to your poverty of money.
Oh, my, don't tell me that.
Absolutely. Whenever you see a fear come up, no matter what the fear is, everything in your life is connected. And if you face a fear, say, for instance, you go up to somebody that you see at the mall and you say to them, you know what, I was just noticing what a beautiful smile you have, and you face that fear, you catch that wave.
Oh, that's magnificent.
And you ride. You get to ride for miles on that wave. You'll get greater love, greater abundance, greater everything in your life. It opens up the flow. Our fear, when we have a fear in place, it costs us so much energy to hold on to that fear, to keep it there. Have you ever noticed, I don't know, Louise, if you've ever gotten up in front of a great, huge audience of people, and maybe it's for the first few minutes you're a little shaky.
Yes.
You know how people are, they have a fear of public speaking?
Right.
Yeah. Well, my little pet theory on that is you're facing a fear, and all that shaking is you releasing all the energy that you had been formerly using to keep that fear in place.
Is that right?
And we have access to so much energy that we don't use because we're holding on to our fears.
Now, wait a minute. Because my knees were knocking the first time I gave a lecture, it was because of all the blocked and instilled fear I was holding on to?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And when you faced your fear, you released all that energy that you had been using to keep the fear in place.
I released, believe it or not, Fort Knox. It was Fort Knox, because after that, you're right, Jane, it seemed to flow so nice. I was absolutely hooked on it.
Didn't you feel like you could do anything after you faced that fear?
Yes, you're absolutely right on that one.
We're Superman. We deserve to have an extraordinary life, and the only way that you're going to have an extraordinary life is to be willing to face your fears. That's how you get lots of money. Now, most people don't have lots of money because they're afraid to have lots of money. And when they hear me say that, they're going to say, that's nuts. I'm not afraid to have lots of money. But you watch. If somebody has not changed their internal programming and they win the lottery, they've done studies on this. You go back a year or two later, and those people who won the lottery, they're not only broke, they're deeper in debt, and they've lost their family and friends.
I think there's some truth to that. I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah, you have to change your internal landscaping to match the abundance. You have to be abundant now. You have to practice feeling abundant and prosperous right now.
Like you're expecting it.
Absolutely.
Let's expect it then.
Yeah, it's kind of like, sometimes at my couple seminar, I ask people, when you're feeling totally loved by somebody, when you're sitting next to somebody who is so totally in love with you and you're feeling their love, are you feeling their feelings or are you feeling your feelings? And what do you think they usually say?
Their feelings.
Yeah, they say, yep, I'm feeling their feelings. I'm feeling their love.
So they give the credit to someone else?
What?
They give the credit to someone else.
They give the credit to someone. They say, I'm feeling they're loving me. I'm feeling their love. And I say, what if you can only feel what you feel inside your skin and that it has nothing to do with what's going on outside of you? Then that means that you can feel totally in love all alone. No one could be sitting next to you. No one could be in love with you. You could be all on your own on an island, and you could be feeling totally in love because the feelings come from within. Same as money, okay?
Absolutely.
So let's say, let's take me about 10 years ago when I was working for minimum wage, and I would get a $50 bonus at Christmas. And I'd be jumping up and down because I get a $50 bonus. That's huge. Now, if I get $50, I say, okay, that's regular.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's regular. But my programming now is different. My capacity is expanded now. Now I understand. Now whether it's $50 or $2 or whether I'm doing, free work at the hospital reading books to the children that are stuck in bed, I'm feeling prosperous and abundant within.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter whether it's 50 or 100 or 0. I'm going to feel prosperous within. And when you're feeling prosperous within, you're like a money magnet.
A magnet.
That's it.
Oh, my. Well, who wants to be around someone who's totally locked in fear and can't express?
It's exhausting being around somebody like that.
And so if we want to create the companionships that we need for our abundance, wouldn't you say that first thing we should do is work on fear? It's so joyless. I mean, it's joyless.
And you know what that reminds me of, Louise? When you're around somebody who's totally in fear, You know why you get so tired so soon?
Why?
Because they're trying to take your energy.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're not using their own.
I agree.
Which they don't do on purpose. I don't want to make out like, because God knows I've been there, and God knows I get stuck there, and I call up my friends and I say I need a pep talk, and they tell me to, they kick my butt in gear, and, they give me love and set me back on the path. And that's what kind of friends you need to get.
Through fear, we block our breathing, and what happens is your brain cannot function as clearly. You can't think as clearly, and already things are buried about yourself deep inside, and if you clamp it up even more,
you're so right.
How are you going to hear yourself?
Not to mention, when you start breathing shallow, your body, we have the right and left lobes, and we have the reptilian brain. And when we start breathing shallow, we send a message to our animal brain, I'm in trouble, and it starts sending messages back to the body, yeah, you're in trouble. You better go into fight or flight. Yeah. And that's so opposite of where we need to be. We need to be in the flow.
And then what about, you mentioned this, which I caught my eye. It was really interesting. You said, create work you love, earning more money. That sounds good. That sounds just what I'm looking for. Then you add, by working less hours.
Oh, absolutely. I recommend
What's that? You got to give me the secret to that one, Jane.
That's it. Everybody listening to me, listen, really take this in. I recommend that no one work more than 4 days a week, and I recommend that no one work more than 35 hours. I want you all to work less and receive more money. Okay?
Explain that.
I want you to hold that in you because really it works. And when I started my private practice and I was working 7 days a week and suddenly thought, what the heck am I doing? I'm not even taking a day off. As soon as I cut back to 6 days, my practice expanded. And then I cut back to 5 days, and it expanded even more. And then I cut back to 4 days, and now it's as big as I can handle it. I have to book people 3 weeks in advance now.
That is fantastic.
And you would think it would be opposite, right? You would think, but let me give you the affirmations. Listen to this, Louise. This is the last job I got fired from. This is a really funny story. You guys will love this. This is almost, I don't know, 5 years ago. I had my private practice on the side, and I kept on working at clinics because I was carrying a belief system that my father gave me, who's a very conservative, wonderful man who wanted me to be in a stable company. And so I always thought I had to be with a company. I didn't think I could make it on my own in private practice. So I kept on working at clinics where I didn't belong. And it was really sad because I was working with children who were wards of the state, and they were being drugged with Ritalin, and I know how to heal ADHD and ADD without using drugs. And so I was constantly in opposition and finally got fired. But the story leading up to me getting fired, I would drive up to that clinic every day repeating my affirmations. These are my old affirmations. And y'all can write these down because they're great ones. It went like this. It was like a 40-minute drive from my house to this clinic. I want work that I love, with people that I love, in places that I love, wearing clothing that I love, for pay that I love. And I repeated that over and over every day. I want work that I love, in places that I love, with people that I love who love me, with pay that I love, wearing clothing that I love, with hours that I love. I repeated that every single day, and then one day I walked in and they fired me.
Wow.
And it was that day I was so relieved when they fired me. And I got home and I checked my books to see how many clients I had coming in. It was the first time ever that I realized my private practice could have been supporting me. I mean, I had enough clients in my private practice for me to leave the clinics almost 1.5 years to 2 years ago.
So you were clinging to 2 jobs.
Out of fear.
Out of total
because of an old
fear.
belief system that is my dad's.
Well, you needed to get fired. That's all I got to say, Jane.
That was it.
You needed to get fired.
And you know, when God closes a door, he opens a window. And that is so true. And I've had, old boyfriend who fired me, and I thought, oh, dear, there's never going to be another one. And the next one was so much better. And things get better. If we're willing to learn from our mistakes, things get better. If we're willing to get the lessons, to get the higher learning, things do get better.
I guess if we can just get over that initial, traumatic you're fired words or you're no longer needed here words.
Well,
those are so critical. I mean, it sounds so mean. These are mean words.
Well, let me tell you a little story about one of my mentors. She's a fabulous woman. Her name's Sue Gilmore. She's a counselor too. And Sue, I was with her one day, and I was complaining. I was crying about something. Can't remember. This was years ago. And I got done. She got me all patched up, and I said, Sue, because I had gotten some big 2x4. Somebody fired me or somebody left me. I can't remember what. She always seems so serene to me, and I said, Sue, don't you get these big hard lessons anymore? Don't you get these big 2x4s between the eyes? And Sue thought about it, and she goes, oh, no, not too much anymore. And I said, well, how is that? And she said, oh, yeah, I listen for the gentle knocking. And I have heard Oprah say, too, first God throws pebbles at you, then rocks, then bricks.
Absolutely.
So if you're in a job where there's just something that's not quite right, and you're ignoring it, that's a gentle knocking. And if you continue to ignore it, you're going to get the 2x4. And another wonderful little truth from Sue. One day I was sitting with her, and I was admiring how beautiful her life was. This is years ago. She was a great model for me. Her life seemed so beautiful and serene. And I said, Sue, how is it that your life is so beautiful? And she said, oh, yeah, that's easy. I don't do anything I think I should.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my God, that is a statement and a half.
Is that a gem?
Oh, absolutely. Things that I should.
I don't do anything I think I should.
So, in essence, what does she do? What she wants to create?
Just what she wants. She does just what she wants.
She's a creator.
That's it.
And we all are creators.
Absolutely.
We create our own wealth. We create our own fear. We create and create. And you have your choices, I guess. And what would be the most logical choice?
Yeah.
The logical choice is joy.
Yeah.
Is having fun in life.
Yep.
And being able to smile about the type of abundance you're accumulating, and maybe one day you'll get onto the big bundle.
Absolutely.
Abundance is different for everyone. Don't you agree?
It is. Because, $50 to me, it's great. It's abundance. And somebody else, it's $1,000.
I think you hit on something before when you mentioned something about being a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes children aren't given the lessons of getting money through some avenue, either working for it at home or being able to handle it wisely.
Yeah.
And it limits their ability to see money as something that can work for them in life.
Absolutely.
They see it as a handout.
Yeah. And
girls are very subjected to that.
Yeah.
So who are we looking for? We're looking for someone to hook onto through the name of love, and then they support us.
And, you have to realize if you have those belief systems going, because it was almost 9 years ago that I realized one day that I wasn't buying a house because I thought that I needed to get married to a man and that we would buy a house. And I thought, well, that's a silly belief system. Why am I doing that? And in that moment, I decided to get my master's degree. And I took a loan for the money, and I worked my butt off. And you have to be willing to do whatever it is you need to do to get yourself to respect yourself. And if you know in your heart of hearts that you're not trusting yourself with money, then you're not going to respect yourself enough to give yourself money.
Absolutely.
You have to build your faith in yourself, and it's the childhood belief systems, and you're right, we have to teach the kids. And, I wrote an article. I write for the Arizona Light newspaper.
Yes.
And I wrote an article a year or two ago about parenting, about how to talk to your children about abundance and how to make your children feel abundant and how to not ever say to your children, we don't have enough for that. What we say is, the money for that is on its way. Oh, my gosh, Louise, that reminds me of this fabulous story I heard Deepak Chopra tell on one of his tapes. He said they were sitting around with his teacher, and they were talking about building this beautiful school, and one of the students said to their master, but where will all the money come from? And the master said, from wherever it is now.
Thank you. I'm going to keep that one.
Oh, so one of the key things, I mean, if your listeners forget everything else I say, remember this, do this. Make beautiful wherever you are right now. I have people come in to do counseling with me, and I say, well, what's your, they're feeling very poverty-stricken, and I say, well, what's your office like? And they say, it's not an office, it's a cubicle. And I say, okay, well, what's your cubicle? Well, it's little, and it's cramped, and it's ugly, and it's got stacks of stuff, and that's bad feng shui. Clear the stacks out. Hang your most beautiful pictures in there. Put a gorgeous plant in there. Make where you are right now beautiful, because until we appreciate where we are, we don't get better. God or Creator or Spirit, Allah, Buddha, doesn't give us better until we are in a state of appreciation. That's how we get more.
That's creative.
That's it.
That's very creative abundance.
Yeah, and that's not all. I mean, we did not just the woo-woo stuff, not just the affirmations and the making beautiful where you are now, but also taking the little steps to make it better. So I'm not asking you to fall into complacency, make it beautiful where you, but a lot of people are afraid to hang the pictures and make it beautiful because they're afraid that means they're staying. That doesn't mean you're staying. It means that you deserve beauty here and now to have even more beauty in the future.
Well, a lot of people, because of the economic conditions as well, it's so hard to get jobs these days in at least close to what we can handle that we're probably trained or have experienced in. They're all afraid to express themselves. There's always a critical voice that'll come marching in and saying, hey, get that picture off your desk, or hey, who said you could use that crystal on your desk? What is that? What are you, some kind of nut?
Right. Yeah, and also, if we have that little voice in us that says, I really want to be an artist, and we have that left brain logic going that says, no, you have to have a real job at a real company. Well, if the fear is too big to leap out of the frying pan, go ahead and start doing your art on the side. Make some time for it, even if it means cutting back at work. A lot of people work more than 40 hours a week. I don't think that's very healthy. So you cut back and you take the time to do the art, and you start gently leaping off. And as you're building your support system with your helium balloon people, you're going to feel more fulfilled, and you're going to feel safer to make those leaps to face your fears because you got your support system.
It's easier than you think. It's just putting one foot in front of the other, so to speak.
You're so right about it being easier than you think, because once you face the fear, you look back on it, you'll look back on a fear that you did a year ago, and you'll think, I was scared of that. I do that all the time now. But looking forward at the fear, it seems huge and looming.
Well, did you ever hear the expression, his hobby turned into his wealth?
Yeah.
That is absolutely a gem in itself. A hobby can turn into a wealth.
Oh,
how many people out there have done that?
That's it. If you would have told me 12 years ago that I was going to make my living by finding out about people and talking with them and listening to them, I would have just laughed, because that was my favorite thing to do. It always has been. I mean, I can remember being I was in 5th grade and my little brothers were in 1st grade and kindergarten, and I'd come home from school and they'd want to know what I learned, and we'd go into my room and I'd take this little chalkboard out and they'd sit on my bed and I'd put it up on my desk and I'd teach them what I learned that day. And it just cracks me up that that's the same thing I'm doing today that I did
Is that right?
5 years ago.
You had your first experience with it.
That's it, and it's the same for everybody. What you love to do is what you can do today, and believe it or not, you can make enough money to support yourself and then some. Oh, and another mentor I had, Stara, really neat lady, crystal chakra aligner lady.
Yes. She
used to say this little prayer that she gave to me. It was a prayer to God, and it went something like, I'm open and willing to receive 10 times more than I need in the service of your light.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, you can have 10 times more money than you need. The first thing I think of is, man, I would love to give my little brothers some money. They just had new babies, and, I would love to take trips out to see them. I'd love to buy people gifts whenever I want to. And you got to think about what you want to spend your money on, and that brings you joy. so that you're not working for the money. You're focusing on the joy of what you want that money for. So you're on the hamster wheel if you're working for money.
Yes.
And I just have a short little list here that your listeners can ask themselves to look for their energy leaks. These are little statements. See how these ring for you.
Okay.
One is, I have let go of relationships which drag me down or damage me. And let go means to end, walk away from, declare complete, or no longer be attached to. That's one. I have communicated or attempt to communicate with everyone who I have damaged, injured, or seriously upset, even if it wasn't my fault. Here's a big energy leak. I do not gossip or talk about others. Here's a big important one. I have a circle of friends and family who love and appreciate me for who I am, more than just what I do for them. Here's some other big ones. I'm singling out some of the big ones. These were given to me by Sue Gilmore, who was one of my mentors. I am a person of his or her word. People can count on me. For you to have abundance, especially in money, that's one of the key things. People can count on me. One of the biggest things is just show up. Show up like you said you would show up, and they'll give you money.
Yeah.
Okay, here's just 4 more. I live life on my terms and not by the rules or preferences of others. I am in tune with my wants and needs and get them taken care of. I do not judge or criticize others. Oh, and I'd like to expand on that just briefly. I want you to all, instead of judging others, be a determiner, not a judger. And I want you to get rid of expectations for others and focus on standards for self. No more expectation for others. Forget about that. Standards for self. This works or doesn't work for me. It's a big one.
So, more or less, we are working towards our freedom. And abundance is freedom.
Abundance is freedom.
We are, as individuals, in charge of that.
Mm-hmm.
Put yourself in charge, then.
Yeah. And if it's a freedom is a way of thinking. Freedom is not a physical state.
That's right.
Yeah. So fill your life with people that love and nurture you. Let go of the ones that don't. Let them go with love. Don't make them wrong. Just say, okay, this isn't working, so I'm going to bless and love you from a distance.
Expand and expand and expand. I guess it can be also connected to language. If we start, you had all these wonderful things you just expanded to us.
Mm-hmm.
If we talk about giving ourselves blessings, the first time I came across that was just recently. I went to buy something in one of those New Age spiritual bookstores, and I was taken back because when the lady gave me my change, she looked at me and said, "And may it come back to you 10,000-fold."
Yeah.
I said, "What? What was that? You know, what is this? 10,000-fold."
That's it.
You know, and
Language.
then I realized what she was trying to do for me.
Yes.
And because of that, I started thinking about our language and how we see money.
Yes.
Why not? I just spent maybe $20 on something, and she gave me some change, and she's wishing that it'll come back to me 10,000-fold. I says, thanks.
Just like when you write out your
but
bills.
it took me a while to say thanks.
Yes. When you write out your bills and you seal them up, kiss them and say thank you. Thank you, utility company, for giving me the energy. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I wrote my Dreams into Reality book. And if any of your viewers want that book, just call me up. And my number is 716-0208. And I was told to repeat that. It's 716-0208. That's exactly the reason why I wrote the goals book. Because when you are wishing abundance for other people, it brings greater abundance to you. And in my goals book, there's a little area where it says you write your goal down, then my list and steps that you write down, and then at the bottom of that page, I'm grateful for that which I already have, and there's a space for you to write what you're grateful for. Then the things that feel too big for you, that you can't handle, put them on God's list. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
or
what I take that. I want to make $40,000 next year. Okay, that's too huge for me. I'm going to put that on God's list.
absolutely.
An area for notes, and then an area for what I must say no to. Because for you, saying what you say no to is as important as what you say yes to.
Absolutely. Discernment.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone out there would like to call Jane and schedule an appointment, her number is 716-0208. That's 716-0208.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you, Jane.
I had a fabulous time.
What a blessing. This was truly a blessing.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you,
so much.
folks, for listening.
Yeah.
And have a wonderful evening. And I hope to have you back again sometime, Jane. Bye-bye.